Good evening, everybody. This is Steve Fletcher with the Trumpet for My People. Today is April 29th, 2019, and I want to walk through a Noah tribulation timeline based on everything we are watching as Israel is coming to the end of their 70th year, the 71st birthday of Israel, which happens exactly on the 10th day of the second month, which is the day that the ark was closed, the final 7-day warning to the beginning of the flood on the 17th day of the second month. So if we are watching the beginning of the Great Tribulation on what is going to be the timeline of Noah, then I would see that the tribulation would follow the timeline of the flood, which is all written for us clearly, step by step, in the book of Genesis. So I want to take a look at this and compare it to what we would be watching. And at the end of this video, I found something quite amazing. Quite amazing. The last piece of information brings us to a very interesting date on the Gregorian calendar. So let's take a look at this step by step. This is the final timeline that is written out, and I'm going to take you through this step by step. Genesis 7, verse 4. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. This is the 10th day of the second month, 7 days before the flood began on the 17th day of the second month. Genesis 7, 10, and 11. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month. The same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. The 17th day of the second month was the beginning of the flood. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. From May 22nd, 2019, adding 40 days, brings us to July 1st, 2019. July 1st, 2019 is the 28th day of Sivan. Now, if we are going 40 days from the 17th day of the second month, which is Resurrection Day on second Passover, then 40 days later would coincide with Ascension Day, the day Jesus ascended. He ascended 40 days after resurrection on first Passover. But here we see a connection to 40 days after the 17th day of the second month. So it coincides with Ascension Day from second Passover. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. Now in Genesis 8, we're going to see that the 150 days are included within the 40 days. It's 40 days plus 110 days. It's 150 days total. And we can see this because we are brought exactly to the day on the Hebrew calendar. So we don't have to do any guessing about if it is 40 days and then another 150 days. It's 150 days total. And we can know this because in Genesis 8, 3 and 4, it says, the waters returned from off the earth continually, and after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat. So the ark rested on the 17th day of the 7th month. And the flood began on the 17th day of the second month. So we can see that from the beginning of the flood to the ark resting is 150 days total. It's 5 months total. And we are brought to the exact day when the ark rested, the 17th day of the 7th month. So the 17th of Tishri would coincide with October 16th, 2019. Genesis chapter 8. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. So the ark rested on the 17th day of the 7th month, and then the tops of the mountains were seen on the first day of the 10th month. First day of the 10th month coincides with December 29th, the first of Tevet, December 29th, 2019. Genesis 8, continuing on in verse 5, the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. And then from there we have another count of days. It came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. He sent forth a raven, which went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. Also he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. And so we have 40 days to the raven and to the dove, to the first dove. So from December 29th, 2019, adding 40 days, it's February 7th, 2020 is the day of the first dove. And this corresponds with the 12th day of Shavat, the 11th month. So from the first day of the 10th month, adding 40 days brings us to the 12th day of the 11th month. Genesis 8, continuing on in verse 10. He stayed yet another 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came into him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. He stayed yet another 7 days, and sent forth the dove, which returned not again unto him any more. So if we add 7 days to the 40 days, we're brought from February 7th, the first dove, to February 14th, the second dove, to February 21st, the third dove. And this is the 19th and the 26th of Shavat. So we have the 3 dates of the dove are February 7th, 14th, and 21st. And on the Hebrew calendar, it's the 12th, 19th, and 26th of Shavat. After the land was dried up and Noah knew that the water had dried up off the land, he did not yet immediately come out of the ark or open the ark. It was Genesis 8:13 gives us the day when the ark was opened. And it came to pass in the 600th year, 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. So from the 12th day of the 11th month to the first day of the first month, Noah waited to open the ark, and the ark was opened on Nisan 1, the first day of the first month, which will coincide with March 22nd, 2020, next year. Now let's look at the final date in the flood story, in the timeline of Noah, and we're going to see something amazing. I think it's quite amazing. Okay, so we go to Genesis 8, verse 14, and it says, in the second month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, was the earth dried. And God spake unto Noah, saying, go forth of the ark, thou and thy wife and thy sons' wives with thee. So the flood was over on the 27th day of the second month. So next year, the 27th day of the second month is May 21st, 2020. It's 1 year and 10 days on the Hebrew calendar from the 17th day of the second month to the 27th day of the second month. It's 1 year and 10 days on the Hebrew calendar, but on the Gregorian calendar, it is 1 year, exactly 1 year to the day. The timeline of Noah brings us to the exact same day the flood begins, to May 21st, 2020. So here is this tribulation timeline in a nutshell, and I showed this at the beginning of the video, and I'll show this again at the end, so you can have this and study this, go through this according to scriptures to see what we are watching. Okay, so in 2019, the ark closes. Now, May 14th and 15th is a very interesting day because it's not only the 71st anniversary of Israel, but it's also the same day, May 14th, that Jamestown was founded by the Pilgrims. This was the first colony that was established in the United States by the English Pilgrims, was established on May 14th, 1607. So the beginning of the United States is connected with the beginning of Israel on May 14th. And this is quite interesting also because within Israel you have the 13 tribes, you have the 13 colonies of the United States, you have 44 kings within Israel, and then the United States had 44 presidents until Barack Obama. And then Donald Trump is considered to be the King Cyrus who allowed Israel to return to Jerusalem after the 70 years of captivity. So Donald Trump being number 45, Cyrus also being considered as a king of Israel in the sense that he allowed Israel to return to Jerusalem after the 70 years of captivity. And Donald Trump came into power during the 70 years of Israel. And we are right here now at the 70 years of Israel with Donald Trump. So there's so many connections between Donald Trump and King Cyrus, and this is connected to the 44 kings of Israel, the 44 presidents of the United States, the 13 colonies, and the 13 tribes. And then also both of these countries were established on May 14th. Okay, so the ark closes on a very important day, not only for Israel, but also for the United States. This is the 10th day of the second month. This would bring the beginning of the flood 7 days later, between May 21st and 22nd. On the Hebrew calendar is IER 17. Another interesting detail that I had shared with you in a previous video, that over the 3 days from May 18th to May 22nd, Barack Obama is going to be 57.79 years old, only for 3 days from May 19th through May 22nd. 57.79 years. We're in the year 5779. And the day before IR 17 is the 16th day of the second month. It's a 216. The 216 being the number of the beast. So if the rapture of the church and the beginning of the Great Tribulation coincides with midnight on the 16th, or the changing between the 16th day and the 17th day, Then we have the rise of the Antichrist, the birth of the Antichrist from August 4th, 1961, which was the 216th day of the year, to the incarnation of the Antichrist on the 16th day of the second month, another 216. So it's a 216 and another 216 connected by 57.79 years. Okay, and I just added that in. I wasn't planning on sharing that. That's why I don't have a video screen or a graphic on that. But I'm just explaining that to you, and I had explained about the 57.79 years in a previous video. I'll have that in the link for you in the description box. So we see the flood beginning on the 17th day of the second month, 40 days of rain taking us through July 1st, Sivan 28. The ark rested after 5 months total, which is the 17th day of the 7th month, 5 months. The ark rested. The mountains were seen then on the 10th day of the first day of the 10th month, December 29th. And then we go on into next year, 2020, and we see that the dove and the raven was February 7th. The second and third doves were February 14th and 21st. The ark was opened on the first day of the first month, which is March 26th. And the flood ends on May 21st, Iyar 27, the same day it begins, 1 year later on the Gregorian calendar. Now, if we look at Isaiah 34, what does it say about the day of the Lord? The day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. The day of the Lord is 1 year. According to Isaiah 34:8, the day of the Lord is 1 year. This is exactly what we're seeing within the timeline of Noah. And if the Great Tribulation begins on the day of the flood, then I think we can understand that the same time frame that was used during the time of the flood will be the same time frame during the time of the Great Tribulation. This is part of why Jesus said the days will be shortened. It is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. This is not the only place that this is said. That is Isaiah 34:8. It is also said in Isaiah 61:2 to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God. So in one, it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of favor. And the other, it says the acceptable year and the day of vengeance. So it's between 1 day and 1 year, we have the understanding the day of the Lord is 1 year in length. And this is exactly what we are understanding, basing our understanding on the timeline of Noah. 2 Peter 3:8, but beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that 1 day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as 1 day. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is longsuffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, the elements shall melt with fervent heat, the earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? If we are understanding and expecting the destruction of the earth and the judgment of God, the day of the Lord that will come to burn up all the ungodliness, what type of people should we be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of God? Okay, so here we have the day of the Lord. Here it goes on to say the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nonetheless, according to his promise, Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. Wherefore, beloved, seeing that you look for such things, Be diligent that ye may be found in him in peace, without spot, and blameless. Matthew 24. As the days of Noah were, so also shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying, giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Only Noah and his family understood. Only the righteous will understand when the time will come upon the earth. Everyone else will be caught by surprise. Hebrews 11:7. By faith Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. So here is the Noah tribulation timeline. I believe we have arrived at the final understanding of the fig tree generation closing, ending on the day the ark was closed, the 10th day of the second month, that being a final 7-day warning to the beginning of the Great Tribulation on the day the flood began, the 17th day of the second month, which is also tied in by 57.79 years to the birthday of the Antichrist. It's also day 1335 from the meeting between Barack Obama and Pope Francis at the White House, which was the Day of Atonement. So we have all of these things leading us by a biblical timeline, 1,335 days. It is also second Passover, 17th day of the second month, the resurrection day on second Passover, which is an unfulfilled spring feast. So there's so many things we are watching right now, and I wanted to go over this timeline based on Scripture and follow it out and see what we were looking at. And I was quite amazed that next year, the 27th day of the second month, is May 21st. So we have a perfect 1 year time of tribulation on the Gregorian calendar. 1 year of judgment. So this is what I wanted to share with you. I will leave all the links for my previous videos, and there are other people looking at May 22nd. I found another video and I added it to the playlist. So please go ahead and check everything out in the description box. I pray you're blessed tonight. This is Steve Fletcher with the trumpet for my people, the sign of his coming revealed.